Okay, so I want to talk about small groups again. Thank you for watching these videos and pray that, again, if you have any questions, please email me in. But want you to be thinking about kind of visualizing your group and what this is going to look like starting in January, hopefully in your home. And again, I know a lot of people are interested in this, but last time we talked about just kind of what happens in that actual meeting time of a group. But want to talk about really questions that come up quite a bit when we talk about small groups, home groups, whatever you want to call them. I think for the most part we'll call them small groups. But um, when do they meet? How long do they meet? What do we do with kids? Do we take a break during the summer? All of these things I want to bring up. First of all, the ministries that I've been involved in the past when there was small groups, the biggest mistake I think that churches make when it comes to small groups is putting a deciding factor over every single small group. What I mean by that is that for every single group in the church, there's an on ramp and an off ramp, meaning this is when you begin. We start our small groups in January and you end in December, and then you got to go to a new group. Then you got to go to new people. Uh, I see the benefit in that. It's that you don't become kind of a social club, and y'all are just, y'all don't let anyone else in, and as a new person, it kind of feels weird. I understand that, and I understand why some churches do that. It's definitely not a bad idea, and I see the temptation for us to do that. However, I've seen it. So that's a good way to do small groups. I've just seen it better uh, for me and my family and others when you let the small groups decide how to do that. And so, one, I think people appreciate that freedom. Two, every group is different. So you may if you say, hey, every group in our church starts in January, but by December you're done with that group, and then you go to a different group. And so the pro of that is that you get to meet new people. The cons to that group is it takes some groups months. It may take a year to feel really connected. And then once you do, then you got to split up. You may be at a place in your group where you're actually talking about real life stuff in your marriage. You're planning a mission trip together. You've gone on vacation together. You took your small group to the beach one weekend, right? I mean, you're really doing gospel community together and on mission together. I mean, that's the hope. And now you want to break us up. Um, there's a big con to that. And so when it comes to these things, it's my desire to let those groups really decide for themselves what they want to do. So when it comes to what night that group wants to meet on, that's up to the group. It may be best for this group, group number one, to meet on Tuesday nights because that just works out well for everybody. You may have a group that has young kids. Tuesday nights, that's a school night. That's a terrible idea. We need to meet on Sunday night, or that's a school night for us. Maybe do y'all want to meet on Saturday? Yeah, Saturday night's fine for some people. Some people like absolutely not. That's family time. We don't want to meet on Saturday. It depends on the group, and so y'all as a group need to decide what's best for you. You don't need me telling you what's the best time for y'all. I don't know your schedule and your life. At least I don't know everyone's schedule in life, so it'd be a mistake for me to decide that as the pastor. You need to decide that as a group. What's best, what fits best for your schedule and your group. Facilitator, be selfish. What night works? You're opening up your home. What works best for you and your spouse? So this needs to have the conversation of what works best for you and your family too. So when y'all meet, what time y'all meet, what night y'all meet, that's up to y'all. Maybe you're a group and you meet in the afternoon. That's completely fine. That's totally up to y'all. Nights don't work because we have young kids and our kids need to get in bed. We got to shower and get to bed and brush our teeth and all that. That's uh, that's not an easy thing, and we don't want our kids getting to bed late. So maybe your is on a Sunday afternoon from 3 to 4 or something. That's totally fine. Whatever fits best for you. The other thing is, what about taking breaks, John? Do we take a break during the summer? Do we take a break for December because it's the holidays and there's a lot going on? That's up to y'all. I would not encourage y'all to, hey, we're going to take November and December off. We're going to take 2 whole months off because Thanksgiving and Christmas fall on November and December. Well, that's a mistake, because then when you get back together in January, you've had 2 months apart from each other, and you need to be together as Christians. And so that's I don't think that's helpful. So don't take too much time off. But also, if your group that everyone's going to be out of town during the summer, and y'all want to take off the summer, I understand that. Maybe the better option would be, hey, a lot of us are busy during the summer. Let's say that during, May, June, and July, we're going to meet 4 to 5 times. Or maybe we're going to just meet 3 times. Maybe we're going to have 3 sessions together, but we're also going to have a fellowship time together as well, pool or grill out or something like that. Don't just hang it all up on the summer. Have a couple of times you get together for your actual, small group discipleship discussions, and maybe have a fellowship thing in there as well. But just to cancel the whole summer entirely, I think that's a mistake too. So again, there's some guidance, but you got to feel this out, what's best for your group, and when to know to take that break. What if there's problems that come up in my group? What if there's the couple that always talks and is dominating the conversation, and we just don't know how to handle it? Or there's someone in our group that, it wasn't just, hey, I'm struggling in my purity, or we're struggling in our marriage, or we have a kid that we don't know what to do with. Pray for us. But someone comes to your group and is like, yeah, I'm dealing drugs on the side and I just can't stop and just want to confess this in small group time, right? Hopefully not. But what if that happens? Like, and really, it may not be that extreme. That's kind of a, joking around. But at the same time, when you get sinners into a space to encourage, to be honest about who they really are, to take the religious mask off, and to be honest about what's going on in their life, you can guarantee it's going to get messy. And that's the purpose of it, because we're messy people and we're sinners. And so you can expect, actually, you can say that if a small group is actually functioning biblically, you're going to have that. And if you don't, your small group is a group of liars, probably, right? Because real life happens, and somewhere in that small group, it's probably going to come out, whether it's in the small group time or during a guy's lunch or a girl's lunch or something like that. It's going to come out. So what do you do then? I'm just a facilitator. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a pastor. I don't know how to handle this. Well, that's when you come to me. What the biggest mistake that some churches make is really small groups, to get them going, is pretty simple. We already kind of know how to do it. It's mostly relationships and opening your home. So, and then you're getting a discussion going. It's really not that hard to start, but there's things that pop up in small groups that can be difficult, and so it's a mistake. Some churches go, well, we'll just start all these small groups, and then y'all are on your own. That's a mistake. It's the pastor's job and the person that oversees discipleship, which in our case is me, to make sure there's a regular dialogue going on with small group leaders. So one of my jobs as the person over discipleship is to have a regular conversation, whether you and I as facilitators talk over the phone, FaceTime, have a cup of coffee, have lunch, but just to reconnect and say, hey, how's your group going? What's going on? Is discussions happening easily? Is there anything I can do to help? What about the kids? How's that situation going? I'll get to that in a minute. But talking about those things, it's my job to stay connected to the leader, to the facilitator, to see how things are going. Because to a large part, you don't need to own that. there is a place that's my job, and that doesn't need to be burden's the wrong word, but you don't feel like you have to own that. That's all on you as a facilitator of that small group. So there's a legitimate divorce that's about to happen in our church. Adultery is happening, and it's in our small group, and we don't know what to do about it. Well, that's my job, and so you obviously you're welcome to be a part of that conversation and that healing and whatever needs to happen. But you don't have to own that responsibility and carry that responsibility. You bring that to me and the staff. So the big question that comes up in small groups is, what do we do with kids? We love our kids, but the problem is if you don't have homes that meet around the church, what ends up happening, especially in our circumstance, let's say you live out Winchester Road, Buckhorn area, or you're driving 15 minutes plus to the church. Let's say your group meets on a Sunday night. You're driving down, dropping off. Well, we don't have anything on Sunday night for kids. Let's say Wednesday night. Your group is on Wednesday night. Coming down to the church, dropping off, and then going back to your house, coming back to pick up your kids, then driving back to your house. That's a whole lot of driving and a whole lot of wasted time. Or let's say your small group meets on Sunday night because we don't have anything on Sunday nights for our kids. Then what happens with our kids? Do we have a babysitting service at the church? Well, or a children's ministry thing going on at the church where that helps out. But you're still dealing with transportation back and forth. That's a whole lot of wasted time. So most churches solve this issue, which there's not a perfect way to do this. Some churches do the transporting back to church, but I have found out that one of the better options is, and it's not a perfect one, but it just seems to work. If you have kids, what ends up happening is a couple will bring, every time a couple comes to that small group, they're going to bring $5. And they're going to give that $5 to a high school student or a college student or an intern or whatever that's going to play with the kids upstairs or is going to play with the kids downstairs or whatever for that hour time. And so that $5 just goes to that college student, high school girl, or whatever. And so this is the reason why small groups don't need to get big. But if you have 6 couples, it's not a huge deal. But then again, if you have a small baby, then it's okay for that baby to be in that small group for a period of time. So but that's kind of the solution that I think most churches have come around to, of kind of paying somebody and helping out in that time. So one of the other questions that comes up is when it comes to small groups. What happens if the group gets too big? And what about new people that come in? Obviously, when we would work really hard that if we have a Discover J-Way class where, like this one, we have up to 17 to 19 people joining our church or interested in joining our church. Well, we can pretty much make a small group out of that. We could probably make a couple of small groups out of that. And so no one really feels like they're the new person because everyone's the new person. So that's a natural way to make a small group. But let's say someone comes in and joins, or a couple of people come in and join, and they want to be in a already existing small group. Yes, that can feel uncomfortable, but hopefully your group is enough a gospel community on mission that's okay, because the other really answer to that is that you split every year. We don't want to do that. But there can be a point where a small group gets too big. So if you have 20, 25, 30 people in a small group, that's no longer a small group. That's a small church plant. So there probably needs to be a point in that group where it's so big we need to talk about splitting the group. And that can get difficult, but at the same time, you already have enough people, and it doesn't mean that you can't have fellowship times where now that you split the group, that group can come together for Fourth of July get together. We're going to watch the ball game. We're going to, but for that discussion, life on life time, that small group time, you get up to 15, 20 people. That is a lot, and we would need to talk about splitting that up. That's a conversation that group can have, but again, the facilitator doesn't feel like they have to own that responsibility. That's something that you would come to me about. So some of these things are, make sense on their own. Some of these things, don't. But again, small groups is not just something. It's not a program that we have. It is our church. We don't want to be a church that has small groups. We want to be a church of small groups. There's one phrase that I would encourage you to, have in your mind and your heart when it comes to small groups, or repeat to people in your group. It's that small groups is not just something that Jackson Way has like a program, but I want Jackson Way Baptist Church to be a church of small groups. This is going to be the future of our church. This is going to be, as we wrap up Acts, if I could point to 4 things that is Jackson Way. Jackson Way is not going to be, we're not going to do a million things for everybody, because when you are a church that tries to do a million things for every single person, we're trying to reach, the ice hockey people out there in Huntsville. So we're going to start doing ministries to the Huntsville Havoc, right? Once you start doing ministries for every single need, you become a mile wide and an inch deep. You're not having any kind of influence because you're just trying to keep up this massive ministry, trying to reach everybody. That's a mistake. And so what we want to do is we want to do a few things and do it well. We also don't want you can get into this where you are asking our young families and even, some people in the church, you're asking them to do so much. And then you're saying, hey, you need to spend time with your family. Your marriages need to matter. And by the way, you need to be connecting with your neighbors who may not know Christ. You can get to a certain point where people turn around and look at the pastor and go, I don't have time for that because I'm too busy doing all of these other things to keep the church going. And that's a mistake. So what we want to do is we want to be about gathering together on Sunday morning for the worshiping of Jesus Christ. We want to be in a small group or Sunday school class where we're doing life on life community. We want you to be involved in some kind of mission or some kind of serving. And we want to be a part, and we want to make sure that we raise the level of excellence when it comes to children's ministry and youth ministry. So there's just a few things, and obviously missions is a part of that too. And I don't mean that just to kind of stick that on the end. That's a huge part of what we're doing. But there's just a few things that we want to do and do it well, to where every member, we're only asking our members for 3 things. One is that Sunday morning gathering. 2, to be in a small group or Sunday school class where you're doing a really real life on life community together. And then 1, you're serving a mission or serving on a team on Sunday morning or doing something like that. So, and that also brings up that. So if you're in a Sunday school class, well, I would like to serve on Sunday morning. I'd like to serve in the youth or children. I'd like to be on the security team or greeting team. I'd really like to do that. But my Sunday school classmates, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. Well, that's a good time for you to be in a small group during the week, and then you can be a part of that on Sunday morning. We're not asking anybody to be in a Sunday school class and a small group. Of course, if you want to do that, more power to you. You're welcome to do that. But my recommendation is you would pick one or the other. And so that kind of opens up Sunday morning a little more for you if you're in a small group during the week. Now, our family, our group meets on Tuesday night or Sunday night, and so Sunday morning is really freed up to serve and to help and to do our thing there. So, but when these questions that come up, I don't want you to feel alone. I want you to make sure you ask them, and there are probably questions that you have that I'm not thinking about, and so certainly please email me, call me, text me, let me know those things, and we'll also have that opportunity to answer those questions as they come up when we meet face to face a couple times before we hit January. But thank you again for considering this. Again, this isn't just kind of a program we're doing. This is the thing we're doing that I believe is going to make our church healthy, more connected, and is going to reach people. Because at the end of the day, it's people just can't. When we're talking about living a life devoted to Christ and knowing Him more, you just can't. A sermon alone is not going to cut it. A worship experience alone is not going to cut it. We need more. We need that, but we also need to be in community together. And so this is something that I'm just settled on and fixed on and passionate about and resolved to raise this as the thing that our church needs the most. And so I'm devoted to this. I pray that you'd be devoted to it as well. I want you to be really praying about this, really talking to your spouse about this, and thinking about what this looks like for you long term. Because this will be a big deal, but I believe this is something that's going to really help our church, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you for your time.